Mr. Vice President, distinguished delegates and functionaries of road transport undertakings and friends, I am indeed happy to be here this morning with you on the occasion of the celebration of the Silver Jubilee of the Association of State Road Transport Undertakings and the National Seminar on the role of nationalized road transport undertakings, which I have been requested to inaugurate. Silver Jubilees are indeed a landmark in the history of any association or body dedicated to a cause. It is an occasion which calls for a celebration, also for a stock taking and introspection. I hope during your celebrations you would not forget the aspects of scientific and critical review of what has been achieved during the last quarter century. The state transport undertakings actually came up in many states or the old presidencies before independence, that is during the war time. When the motor vehicles legislation was taken up in India, there was considerable enthusiasm in many circles about the transport undertakings. The municipal transport undertakings of the West, which were under the municipal or semi-state control, provided significant service to the passengers, more to the urban and metropolitan passengers. Probably these were taken up as a pattern, and there was demand from many places in India for nationalization of transport industry. It began with municipal transport undertakings in certain metropolitan areas, and then it spread further. As your own history would bear out, it is during the last quarter century that these undertakings have come to play a very significant role in the transport sector. Earlier in India, and it continues even to this day, my colleague, the railway minister, would be rather unhappy with me if I say this. The entire transport sector was oriented towards the railways, which has a budget of its own. But as the statistics would bear out, the goods and the passengers, more goods and probably less passengers, have been shifting towards the road. The same amount of attention has not been devoted to the road transport industry, whether it be the nationalized state transport undertakings, the motor transport, goods transport industry, road building, highway development, not to talk of express highways, which are nearly non-existent in this country. This has led to a number of distortions and all kinds of managerial practices, resulting into chronic neglect of this vital sector. Today you are asked to be fuel efficient when your vehicles have not been designed for fuel efficiency. If you do not attend to the problem of design of the vehicle even at the level of licensing, and you indiscriminately distribute the licenses, then you have a problem at the other end. There was a question between the mass passenger transport and private transport, particularly in recent years. We have been looking for new model car and what is supposed to be a people's car at rupees 35,000, which now costs 5 times as much and carrying hardly 4 passengers. Now this kind of experiment has been at the cost of developing a healthy public transport system. I wish to make it clear that the National Front government's policy is to build up a vigorous and healthy public transport system. In this context, the nationalized state transport undertakings have to play a crucial role, because that is also an aspect of fuel efficiency, since bigger vehicles can carry more passengers, whether it be in the urban sector or in the state sector. As I said earlier, it is important not only to compliment ourselves on crossing this landmark of Silver Jubilee, but we will have to ask ourselves what else we have been doing. As far as public sector undertakings in India are concerned, I have been a votary of the system which we at one point thought would take over the commanding heights of our economy. Somehow, more so in the states, this has led to such apathy and neglect, leading to certain roaderless development, with the result we have all kinds of chronic problems today. Public sector has emerged as a loss-making phenomenon, consuming scarce energy. Probably it has been led by the changing fortunes of the government. I do not want to go into or elaborate other areas such as maintenance of vehicles. Public road passenger transport is a public utility service. It satisfies an essential need of a large segment of the population, particularly in the developing countries where the per capita income levels cannot be considered to be high. Public road passenger transport is a mode which can and does meet the mobility needs of a large majority of the population conveniently and economically. Economic development of such countries generally call for the movement of men and materials across the length and breadth of the country. The population tends to gravitate towards and concentrates around certain urbanized centers of economic and commercial activities. At the same time, industrial and agricultural development generates mobility needs for movement of personnel and labor and migration of people to and from rural areas. The need for an economic, reliable and efficient means of transport in this context is generally acutely felt, which can be better supplied by a public sector agency operating efficiently and cost effectively. The economic and social advantages of public sector road transport in this context may well deserve to be recapitulated. Public sector state transport undertakings would be able to realize a certain scale of economies since they can operate on a large scale. Such undertakings would be able to provide for adequate scale and quality of facilities for training of their drivers and other staff for the maintenance of vehicle at the central workshops, which may help to more effectively control the rates of consumption of fuel, spare parts and to bring down the rate of accidents, etc. These factors can have very salutary impact on the costs of operation of the state transport undertakings. These undertakings have been able to form themselves into an apex association of state road transport undertakings to look after their common interest. Mr. Vice President and friends, once again may I express my grateful thanks to you for providing me this opportunity to share some of these thoughts with you, and I inaugurate your seminar and also the Silver Jubilee celebrations.